let me get my notes up. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I feel like we're all a bit not whelmed, slightly underwhelmed.
Okay, so welcome to Star Trek Trek, the ongoing journey through the episodes of Star Trek. Hi. We have just watched Q-less, the season 1 episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, featuring the one and only appearance of Q in this entire season. This was certainly an episode of DS9 that we just watched. Opening, guys.
You know what? I have to go one better. This certainly was an episode of DS9, but just in case Shai missed it.
Oh, look.
It's also an episode of Trek Time.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize we had schmancy t-shirts.
The only one that currently exists for the moment until we get some proper merch made up.
Yeah, until I actually get around to doing any kind of merchy stuff. This was directed by Paul Lynch, who also did The Naked Now. He also did a couple of other... He did The First Duty and a couple of other DS9 episodes we watched already, A Man Alone and Babel. So this is kind of like that same feeling. The story was by Hannah Louise Shearer, who also did When the Bow Breaks, Skin of Evil, but also The Price, which I kind of feel like is a very similar episode to this.
Yeah, I feel like he has an obsession with
bargaining
with
over the
Federation.
Barzan wormhole, isn't it? Yeah. And this is the first teleplay by Robert Hewitt Wolfe, who would go on to do pretty much loads of DS9. So this is kind of his first
he's one of the co-showrunners, really, isn't he?
Kind of, yeah. By the end, he's definitely there in the writers' room. Yeah. What do we think? Opening lines, please.
I mean, the problem is, anytime Q appears, it needs to be a test of humanity, right? That's the whole premise of the Q's existence in Picard and Janeway's and the Federation's life. Humanity's reached the point in their progression where this omnipotent race is actually concerned about how they're going to continue to develop. And there's no real Q test here. It's kind of, he even says it. He says it's a technobabble puzzle that they solve. And it's not. There's no big sort of moral choice to be made. There's no, nothing. They just like, oh, it's that thing. Beam it off the ship. We're done.
Well done.
Beam it off the station. We're done. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what the problem is? The problem is that the protagonists of this episode are not the main cast. The protagonist of this episode is Vash.
Right.
She is the one who has an emotional arc. She is the one who initiates the conflict. She is the one who deals with the conflict. She is the one who ends the conflict. And I feel like it's kind of a misstep to be like, hey, we're like 5 or 6 episodes into our spin-off show. What about an entire episode where we sideline our main cast, heavily feature one of our biggest known antagonists from the other show, and focus on the supporting character? I feel like that belies a certain lack of confidence in your main core cast. Like, you would do that?
Yeah. She doesn't have much interaction. And it's like, if they were planning on adding her as a recurring character, that would make sense. But since she was, they named her as the foremost expert on antiquities in the Gamma quadrants at the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's an alternate version of DS9 where she turns up like Garrick or Wynn all the time, and she's doing her Indiana Jones bullshit.
But she doesn't. So.
Yeah. I think this episode was moderately enjoyable in bursts. Like, anything when Q, Vash were on the screen, and Quark as well, was like, this is great, I'm enjoying my time here. There were some really odd moments, like the scene where Vash is depositing stuff into a safety deposit room. They spend 5 minutes just listing out all the stuff she's got, and it's such a dry scene that just there's no end to it. It's just oh, we've got this character who's
the only thing it does is establish the quartz. All it does.
That's kind of it. And they could have done that a different way.
It's very much a Chekhov's gun scene. It's like, well, is there going to be a heist here? Is all this stuff going to get stolen? We're going to break into this repository? No, it's just...
Which kind of makes you think they'd used Odo a bit more in this episode, rather than just kind of being like, oh, we need to... Which, the one thing it does good is it establishes a little bit more interplay between Quark and Odo in their one little scene, which is quite nice.
Okay, you know what? I have a question for you guys. Can you name the multiple members of the main cast who never interact with Q?
Oh my god. So Kira does... Dax doesn't, really?
Dax doesn't.
No, Dax doesn't.
The science officer doesn't. Odo doesn't.
Odo doesn't, no. Quark does. Oh, Quark does, yeah. He gets wiped away.
Yeah.
So, another fun fact, Jake Sisko is not in this episode at all. Kira Clofton did not appear at all.
He was just watching out the window as they were hurtling toward the wormhole. Like, I guess
So-
Dan thought that.
No, yeah, that's another one of my pet peeves about this episode. Like, that's what the other thing I say. Like, when they're at the end there, when they're running through, they're scanning on the promenade, trying to find the source of why they're hurtling through space while the power's being drained. Everyone's just going about their day. People are walking by with suitcases. Everyone's talking about the weather, sitting down for their Ractaginos. It's just a bit like, did you guys need to talk to each other on the set here? Like, it seems like they've gone crazy.
Complete lack of immediacy and like
there needed to be like a Star Trek corridor jog. You know, the classic, we know we have a limited distance set, but we're going to jog in a way that makes us seem more urgent. And there was none of that.
Like the alarm isn't even going off, even though they're 3 minutes away from death. Like,
They literally, all the air gets sucked out at one point. Meanwhile, Bashir's having a nap somewhere.
It's completely aimless. That's they call it cuteness. It should have just been called aimless because it's like, what's the point of the episode? The episode is to wrap up the Vash and Q storyline, except it doesn't because they kind of almost end it at the same place they started off with. Although
she kind of.
I'm not here for the adventures of Q and Vash. I'm here for an episode of Deep Space fucking Nine.
Yeah, it did feel like you were right. Everyone did feel like kind of second fiddle to sort of like Q and Vash. And sometimes it's good. Like DS9's strength is that the minor characters can steal the show sometimes. But I feel
it helps if they're from DS9.
Yeah, this is true.
Doesn't it? Yeah. Like if you had guess what? I mentioned it during the watch along, but if you had Garrick in there, if you had Ducat in here, if you had any of our big DS9 like contributors or the ones you really think of, you would have gone. Imagine Garrick and Q in the same fucking room. Imagine it. Just like the sheer snark off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, but instead we're spending like a lot of time just watching, admittedly, Jennifer Hetrick and John DeLancies do their best 1940s. We're both morally unscrupulous characters having like flirty conversations like shtick. And it's like that's fine, but that's not really a foundation for a 45-minute episode of Star Trek.
No, it was not. As I said, Vash has her best outfits in this episode.
Oh yeah,
mind. But
definitely. I think as you remark, she has the earring.
Well, the tie-dye jacket is a bit weird.
I like the jacket.
I don't hate it, but it is just very, especially when you compare it to the really fly and beautiful like blue and white pinstripe like dress suit she wears. Like it's a bit out of place. Yeah.
Auctioneer outfit.
The auction's terrible. Why is Quark so bad at auctioning?
It's awful. Like, she comes up like, here's all the detailed history. He's like, you want it, don't you? Like, buy it, sell it now.
Like, it'd be one thing if, you know what you could have done with that scene? You could have had it be that, she tries to do that shtick, and then Quark just throws out a load of random shit that's not true. Like, this was used to stab the 15th king of the Sumerian whatever the fuck. And she's like, that's not true. And he's like, yeah, are you going to prove it wrong?
They don't know that.
They don't know that. Yeah, exactly. They don't know that. No. They have no context for why these things matter. Like, they could have literally been replicated 3 systems over and they would have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
You're a noted con woman, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, the auction, like, the one thing where Q sits at the back and he kind of goes, like, you realise you're all in imminent danger, and they kind of stop for a minute and go, okay, but let's keep bidding. we're fine. We're all about to die. But it was, a bit disjointed.
Yeah, no, it's like you pointed out, if it's meant to be a moral lesson, then the people learning the moral lesson are like a lot of randos in a room. And Vash, and it's like, okay, cool, one of these characters is human.
We
didn't sign up for this.
Can we talk for a moment about how smarmy Bashir is at the start and how cringy that dialogue is? Is like, I mistook it for a pre-ganglionic nerve, but actually, and this is a harrowing tale. And just like, the woman's just like, wonderful. But I do love O'Brien's just like, what the fuck is happening face behind them both.
O'Brien was resisting the urge to pick up like a vase and just blast over his head because he was like, are you fucking for real? He's like, I was at the academy to do my NCO courses. I was working hard to put food on the table, and Bashir's just swanning around fucking trying to romance a local Dabo girl with like stories about his fucking medical exam. Like, fuck off.
Fascinating.
But it's fine though, because like, that's the character. That's what he is like. Bashir is a cringy asshole.
That's why season
especially right now.
So bad. Early seasons are
He's
bad.
the worst.
He's the worst.
But then he turns into Steve Rogers and it's fine.
Kind of. But I
Does
know,
he? Kind of.
A little bit. They kind of try and do that later on in season 6.
yeah, without the morality a little bit. Gosh, yeah, you can put him in the tube and suddenly gets all muscly, and then yeah, you're there, aren't you? He does try the same
And
shtick
then
with
Vash
Vash.
just like tries to touch his boobs.
He does try the
Like
same
that
shtick
on a
with
bit of
Vash
finger
later on,
claw.
doesn't he? He goes, "It's like, well, you're perfectly healthy, so I didn't think of a better way to come and talk to you other than would you like some couscous with me in the in the dining room?"
Is there a count of how many patients Bashir tries to sleep with?
There's at least
Like,
3. At least 3.
how-
'Cause I'm thinking of Melora as well. Melora
Oh god,
is
yeah,
one.
Melora, Serena, and Vash.
Oh god, that's a
Yeah,
4th one, yeah.
It's really terrible. Like
Mm,
his medical ethics are garbage.
yeah, he's not great, but he's frontier medicine. I can do what I like. This is why I'm out here.
Yeah,
This is why I'm not valedictorian because I'm a
no-
bit of a creep.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. Like, the Doctor from Voyager is less of a creep, and he is written to be like a vainglorious, like, ego-chasing, like, mania hound with, like, predilection for the pretty lady. But at least he wasn't creeping on his patient.
Yeah.
Like, that was
Yeah,
a
the Doctor's-
joke in freaking, yeah.
The doctor's like, maybe we didn't go far enough with Bashir's ego on Deep Space Nine. Let's go all the way,
Yeah.
and it works better actually.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one step away from walking up to someone saying, "So I noticed from your medical records that you're suffering from," and then going
Cute like a
from there.
dick.
Yeah, yeah, all right. It's a
I
bad
guess
joke.
it wasn't that far off from what he was saying.
So,
I have a question for you.
go on.
What does Cisco do in this episode apart from Punch Q?
Not a great deal. He kind of he did bring that righteous anger, didn't he? He's like, "Bring me back my crew." He definitely sort of brought the thunder, as the traditional thunder.
Yeah, but
god he is.
they set it up. They set it up with that scene where Q's like, "Oh, you're easier to provoke. Great for me," and then nothing.
Yeah, they don't pay
Nothing.
off on it.
There's
I don't know if they
It's
meant
all those
to.
casualties.
Yeah, I don't know if they meant to like pay off and having more Q episodes later on, but they just kind of went, actually, now let's put them over in Voyager and let's do that instead. So
Well, because the problem is they said, "Oh, there was no chemistry," and I'm like, "No shit, there was no chemistry. You barely let them interact. They had like
Yeah.
maybe 3 scenes together, and for the most part, they're talking cross purposes over Vash and Quark. Like, the reason why Jean-Luc and Q have such a great dynamic, and even to a degree, I'd say like Q and Riker have a decent dynamic, is because they fucking talk to each other
mm,
about their characters and about their races and about their philosophical outlooks. Meanwhile, here it's a lot of "don't do the thing."
I
Gonna
did
do the
thing.
thing.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, that's not the foundation for an interesting relationship.
yeah.
You need a degree of like common ground or a uncommon ground for which you would disagree on, and it's like, I don't get the impression that Cisco so much disagrees with like Q as much as wants him gone, and I'm like, that's fine for the character, but then why are you surprised that no one really cares about seeing these characters interact again?
Yeah, there's
Weird.
yeah, you definitely needed like Q and like Cisco having a moment, like more than just being punched in the face. But I suppose that was intended to be kind of like show the differences between like this isn't Picard Starship, like this is how Cisco deals with things. And then you definitely had those ones that's like, come on, Cisco, hit me, and then he punches him, and he's like, what? Confused cat meme, Can't believe you've done this.
Can't believe you've done this.
Okay, fun quiz for you both. Which classic 90s animated TV show gets a reference in this episode? If you are not knowledgeable of it already.
90s TV show.
90s animated cartoon TV show.
is there a
Very
Simpsons
unexpected.
reference in here?
Not a Simpsons one. At least not the one that I found.
Gargoyles?
Not Gargoyles, although good shout. No, it is in fact
Good guess.
is in fact Ren and Stimpy. The name of the planet Hoek 4 in the episode named after the main character Ren Hoek. There's also apparently we missed it before. There's a Ren and Stimpy reference in Babel where Cermak Ren and Spumco are referenced.
Very funny.
Yeah,
All right.
there's your fun little. Obviously, there's a Ren and Stimpy fan there somewhere.
No, I don't feel like that's on the same level as like when you look through the personnel manifest in Is it? No, it's in the neutral zone. If you look at the the files that they bring up for the housewife from the 1990s, they're all named after Doctor Who actors.
Oh, really? I didn't know that one. I can't wait.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm pretty
that's
sure.
great.
I don't know if it's still in the remastered thing, but
Oh,
yeah,
it
like
should
stuff
be.
like that. That's a fun fact. But like Ren and Stimpy, where I'm like,
I loved Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy were great.
yeah, you didn't catch the reference, did you?
No, I didn't. But then I wasn't paying
So,
attention for it.
yeah,
little bit over the head.
Okay, all right, fine.
But it just shows like how groundbreaking that cartoon was in the 90s, that the writers of DS9 would be so influenced that they would feel that they had to make a reference to it.
I feel like there were two
the
lanes of
episode.
animation that went in like in the 90s. Like one way they went The Simpsons, and the other way they went Ren and Stimpy. And I feel like everything's kind of gone an offshoot of either of
I
those.
don't know. I feel like early Simpsons is more akin to Ren and Stimpy than you're giving it credit for. It could be quite absurdist and quite dark in
True.
places. But
Yeah,
Very
they're
true.
both very
Talk about DS
subversive.
yeah. Oh, you can tell how interested in this episode of DS9 we are because now we're talking about Ren and
Talking
Stimpy.
about other things. Okay, okay.
We were
in which
discussing
case-
a lot of other things during that episode. Yeah.
In which case, shall we go to our best and worst moments? I was going to do what crew do you think would else do this one, but our options are limited because Q has already been on Voyager and TNG, and I don't think,
I would love to have seen Q on Discovery.
yeah, it's
I
not
would
too
have
late.
Loved it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Give me an
I mean,
episode
it's,
in season
uh,
five.
chronologically-
Yeah.
Chronologically, it's like 100 years before humanity's supposed to be encountering the Q. But
Oh, I'm talking about like season 3 or 4.
No,
Oh,
season
season
three,
3
yeah.
or 4
Or
Discovery.
5, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. They
Although-
should bring him back. That would be great.
Oh, they didn't advance say they haven't heard from the Q continuum for like 200 years or something like that. But there's,
Well,
Guess
what,
it's
what better
good time
time?
to
There
do
you
it
go,
then,
yeah.
Exactly.
Season 5 is supposed to be a bit more playful and adventurous, so
Oh, if Q turns up, I'll be delighted. I'd actually love that.
that'd be great.
Now I have to look through the episode list. I'm talking about other series again.
Okay, yeah. Let's go best and worst moments. Start with the Shy. Best worst moments, please.
I mean, I like the best moment is the banter between Vash and Q. They're great. Like when she's trying to like unpack and he keeps trying to repack her
That's
clothes.
so
Like
good.
Yeah,
it's very charming. And the worst moment is just the. I don't know if it's a moment or it's just the lack of. Look, this episode is basically Encounter at Farpoint. Like I'm
shitty
sure in
in every way.
some
Farpoint
early
too.
draft of this, like the creature's mother came and was attacking the station trying to get the egg back, and they suddenly realized, oh, that's exactly like Encounter at Farpoint. we can't do that, so we just gotta make it some weird graviton thing, destroy the station and drag it into the wormhole. So just the sort of the story.
Oh
and
my
the
god.
script
Overtime
let
just pointed
down
out Vash is just next gen mud, isn't she? A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
I didn't even
absolutely.
realize that. Yeah.
Just far.
But without the people
Butter.
trafficking
Yeah.
on multiple occasions.
Yeah. No, she just was dealing in weapons of mass destruction.
Sure.
Attempting
As you do.
to recover and sell them.
This would actually be really like, imagine plopping this on a Dominion fucking space station. It would fucking tear it apart in fucking 3 minutes. Like,
Yeah. The Taksu Tep. Like it could destroy his star. She deals in like horrible weapons of mass destruction.
Or DS9, that's
looks
just
up from,
Tuesday.
like a runabout. I have become Death, Destroyer of Worlds.
That's right. Yeah, so that's my it's a sort of a generalized I guess the worst moment then, if I have to choose a specific worst moment and not just the whole story, is her old person acting with the dessert.
Oh god, yeah, that was pretty
Damn
bad.
it, you stole it. I was gonna.
I know. I know.
I'm so weak and feeble. Please, young man, help me up from the floor. Yeah, it was pretty bad. That reminded me a lot of sort of like Vina from the Cage moments as well. It's just like we need to do like, and to bear in mind this is like 30 years later as well. They could have done a little bit more with them, maybe.
Right.
But there you go.
I don't know. I feel like Susan Oliver did a better job.
Yeah, that's
Given
true.
the cage.
She sold the pain of being a cribble. Stars, best and worst.
I'm gonna say it. Best moment was the opening with Bashir and O'Brien, and that fucking because it's just so cringy,
Disgusting.
and Colmini is just so disgusted, and like, I don't know. maybe I'm being unkind here, but I want to imagine that partly that was a bleed over from like Cole Meany having to watch this like kind of snobby little Irish Englishman being like, oh well, and like I don't know. I feel like there's maybe a little bit of method acting in there. It's like,
Like this dick. Who is this guy?
I don't know. Maybe that's unfair. Maybe I'm being really unfair to Alexander Siddig. I imagine he's a wonderful, lovely person, but like, good God, can he play a smarmy cunt really well?
There is precedent.
Yes. Worst moment. There's a lot. You already stole the one I was going to beeline to.
Sorry.
So I'm gonna have to say. You know what? I'm gonna just like go for it. That scene in Ops where they're like, "Oh, decompression alert." Fuck off! Fuck your fucking face! Treat this with at least pretend you're taking it seriously.
Just standing at the
I've
console.
seen amateur dramatics. Amateur dramatics class will take it more seriously. At least throw them. You're Star Trek, for God's sake. You're one of the originators of ship shake and like over dramatic clutching at the console, and you're just like.
Yeah, the station doesn't shake.
When I was walking back from the store, like, come on. Yeah, exactly.
There's no loose pads or pens or coffee cups flying through the air. Everything's just put away magically.
There's a technician with a tray of coffees. It all just goes back into his face. Oh!
Like, even Red Dwarf would have played that for a bit more of a severity, you know?
Nick Crichton somewhere trying to hoover up all the dust.
Sorry, absolutely sure. It does mean changing the L cars.
Yes. Okay.
How about you there?
What about me? I think my best moment. What's my favourite moment? I like that little conversation between Quark and Odo, and he's trying to tempt Odo. He's like, "What would you like? Would you like some pottery? Would you like a silver bucket?" And Odo's like, No, I love Odo and Quark scenes. Like, they'll just steal the show from me every time. So
yeah, anytime you get even a glimmer of interest from Odo about something that Quark is saying, it's like that's always kind of a special moment.
Yeah. My worst moment is probably definitely the general just not giving a fuck about the imminent danger that everyone has on the station. There's definitely a lack of a detail. Someone on set that says, these people should be running around with their hands on their heads just going, the world is gonna end! You know, because, like, they're all about to die. Yeah, it's just Tuesday. It's just a guy's going off to go pack his bags.
You know what? It's especially egregious because, like, Emissary, they do that with, like, fucking, like, the promenade blowing up. And it's like, clearly you know how to, like, stage the scene and set this up and you have the extras. Why are they all just milling around like it's a Saturday afternoon?
There's two people standing having a conversation with a smile on their face. There's people having an auction. They've been told they're about to die and they don't care. It's really bad. Like, it's like a little bit of stage direction helps the immersion, but I think it's at that point it kind of breaks. You kind of go like, oh yeah, this is a season 1 episode of DS9. This is kind of why this didn't work this early on.
People should be evacuating. There needs to be a guy running the background with an old-fashioned ice cream maker. You know, learn from your franchise brethren. Yeah. I have to say, I have to give us honorable mention to the recurring joke of, it's me, Miles from the Enterprise. Being used twice.
Don't you remember? We're best buds. We never met, but it's me.
No, they met exactly once.
But Q did call him out on it later. He goes, "Oh, one of the little people." You know, he just says like, "You were just in the background. You weren't really there. You were at the transporter chief. Know your place."
Day player.
Yeah.
Day player. Wow.
Oh, okay. Which brings us to that wonderful time that we all love so much. Stars, what is your rating, and is it going to involve gravitons?
No.
Ah, okay.
Guess what? I couldn't choose it for my worst moment, but gentlemen, how many Jennifer Hetrick's incredible physical acting performances out of 10 would you like to give this episode? I'm sorry.
She was very good.
She got paid for that episode. She can try harder.
She was, overall, she was great in that episode, but yeah, that was not her favourite moment. Go on, Shy, give us your out of 10.
Look, this episode script fails and the direction utterly fails, except for the making Q appear through just sort of
oh yeah, those random shots,
camera movement. Yeah. That was actually really good. But I really enjoy seeing the return of Vash and Q in this episode. I remember back when DS9 premiered, watching it and being like, oh, a little touch of familiarity. I enjoyed having that. So I gave it a 7 actually.
Okay. This is why
Really?
on all my ratings you
Yeah.
love Star Trek the most. Everyone
true.
else, all of us
It's
hate
true.
it. You're actually the one true fan.
The only one who ever liked it.
Look,
We
it's
were all
got the
just
I'm not
posers.
Picard line.
That's
On
true.
that's a whole point
That's
of
iconic.
itself,
Like,
in
that
and of
is-
itself. Yeah.
Stars, go on.
I just didn't really care what was going on. It just like it's nice to see like Vash and Q around, but like neither of them are series regulars. I don't come to Star Trek to watch Q and Vash interact. Like it's perfectly fine. That's a really nice like side dish, but I'm looking at my plate and there's nothing on it. There's no point to this episode. Like the characters did not grow. Cisco and Dax and O'Brien and Bashir and Quark did not grow in any way. Even really bad episodes like I'm gonna upset Idle here, but even Move Along Home is significant for having a development of Quark, of showing that he does have a heart. But this doesn't even do that. It is so uninterested in its own main cast. I kind of have to knock it really pretty hard. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. Like 4 of Jennifer Hedrick's pretty poor physical acting performances out of 10. Like it's just
bad.
I don't know. Like if it weren't for Q and Vash, if it was just like two performers we didn't know about doing the exact same roles, I'd give this like a 1. I'd be like, this is a complete waste of my time.
I think this is you're right. This is saved for me for like a few reasons like that. Yeah, Q and Vash great together. Vash and Quark scenes, Quark and Odo scenes, the kind of almost the interplay between them and Q playing with Cisco and having that little, like you said, the camera shots where you're talking to Cisco and he goes, well, we'll talk about Q, and then all of a sudden he's been there the entire time. They just focus on him and he turns around and like, love that shot. But there's definitely some high points in this. Like I liked, like you say, the scene where Vash is talking to Q and he keeps materializing the bag on her and she's like coming in behind the scenes and they're having a little petty argument. Like that's great. Like I enjoy. There is things that won't.
It's
that
so
will make,
weird that there's like things that are like there's like such directorial flair in places and then not in others.
Yeah, it's like it's an episode. I will certainly I'll rewatch it if someone says to me, "Hey, I really want to watch Q-less tonight." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." There's some really good bits I enjoy about this episode, and then I'll tell them.
Point out,
like when I
ever say that.
Well, no, like I routinely, or like, at least I used to when it was on Netflix, would rewatch all the series sort of in sequence. And this was one of the, but you would skip the episodes that you knew were just terrible. I would never skip this episode because I'd like in the background having, I always talk about other franchises like Star Wars or Godzilla and say like there's certain parts of those franchises that are just free screen time. Like you don't have to be a good writer, you don't have to be a good director. Like in Star Wars, when there's a lightsaber on screen, that's free. That's 20 minutes of your 2 hour. That's free. Anytime Godzilla's on screen, that's free. You don't have to be a good filmmaker or a good writer. It's just free screen time. And anytime DeLancies on screen in Star Trek, that's just free screen time. Like he's so good in that role. It's you only have like 40 more minutes of your screenplay to write. 35 more minutes of your screenplay to write. Yeah.
So yeah,
just write John Delancey does some stuff and you're fine.
yeah, John Delancey is there. And instantly you've got a good episode. With that in mind, I'll give it a 5. Bam in the middle. Like this was fine. There are some glaring errors, and there is parts where I'm just like, there's nothing happening. This is boring. But there are parts that are equally good. It kind of measures its highs with its lows in both equal contrast. Like when it's good, it's great, and when it's bad, it's just it's when it's bad, it's average. It's not bad. It's just meh. Well,
I mean, it should have been.
I feel like not having anything going on is kind of bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't for the life of me know how it's not an orb of the prophets that she comes back with.
Kind of, yeah. Why would it not be that?
Yeah.
That would have been much more interesting.
Well, they were very bad about like maintaining that through line for a while anyway. Like they do it whenever it suits them, and it's set up as this big MacGuffin thing they're gonna have to assemble, and then they just kind of drop it.
Like, why don't they have in the finale of DS9 just have all the orbs of the prophets orbiting Cisco, and he goes Super Saiyan? Like that was he is the chosen one. Like, that was supposed to happen.
Oh no,
that would have been amazing.
Yeah, everyone would have really loved that.
Yeah. But in conclusion of that, we have rated Deep Space Nine's Q-less at a 5.3. Perfectly, not too bad, not too good. just about right. Just there.
Not too bad, not too good.
Not too bad, not too good. I think this brings us. Star Trek is now. I've had to reevaluate of how I was rating this as well. Apparently, I was rating this slightly wrong, so I was doing the averages in the wrong place. But Star Trek's now a 6.3, so we're rating it. It is, a little bit better than Q-less.
Considering we've been doing a lot of TNG season 1, I feel like
It's
that's
not too
really,
bad.
really
Yeah,
generous.
we have been rating.
That could be so much worse.
Absolute terrible. This is rated just about the same as where Lift Us Where Suffering Won't Reach from Strange New Worlds. The child killing one. And Terra Nova from Enterprise. So we rate about the same.
I feel like we kind of want to bump that Strange New Worlds one up a bit because I feel like I feel like I'd rewatch that before I rewatch this, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Maybe it was an okay episode. Anyway, if you're watching on stream, stick about because we're going to watch Voyager's Eye of the Needle. Oh, hang on, has my Discord just frozen? I think my Discord's just frozen. Let's just wait and see.
Yeah, Discord.
There we go. There we go. We're back.
Oh, hi.
Hi, welcome.
Hello.
Anyway,
I'm Troy McClure.
You might remember me from such productions as join us if you're on stream. Stick about. We're going to watch Voyager's Eye of the Needle. If you're watching this on the YouTube, we'll be back in 2 weeks with Voyager's Eye of the Needle. Check our Discord, check the links, and everything else. Like and subscribe. Blah blah blah. Live long and prosper. Ta-ra.